to do a compare problem, and a compare problem describes situations in which two quantities are compared to each other. And this specific compare problem is going to be a grade 1 because they're going to generate and solve problem situations when I give a number sentence involving addition or subtraction of numbers within 20. And our numbers added together don't equal up to 20, so it's a first grade problem. Our problem reads, Jonah has 10 pennies, Kennedy has 7 pennies. How many more pennies does Jonah have than Kennedy? Well, to solve this problem, we can use number strips. And we're going to represent Jonah's pennies and Kennedy's pennies using these number strips, and we're going to label them, and then we're going to solve the problem based off of the number strips. So if we want to see what Kennedy's pennies are, we're going to use this pink strip of paper, and we're going to put it right here, and we're going to label it. And the reason why we label it is that so we know which number strip belongs to which. So we're going to use a bracket to label it because this whole thing will be Kennedy's pennies. So we're going to label it Kennedy's pennies. And Kennedy has 7 pennies. So we're going to put it over here. We're going to put 7. So you know that this whole thing represents Kennedy's pennies, which is 7. So 7 pennies. And so now we're going to compare it to Jonah's pennies. And we're going to represent Jonah's pennies using the green number strip. So we're going to put it right here. And before I do anything else, did you notice something different about the green? It's longer. The reason why it's longer is because Jonah has 10 pennies, and 10 is more than 7. So our number strip needs to represent more than Kennedy. So it's going to be longer. So we're going to bracket this whole thing as well. And what do you think we're going to label it? Jonah's pennies. And if we look at our problem, we can find how many Jonah has. So Jonah has 10 pennies. So we're going to label it right here. So 10 pennies. And so we see that Kennedy has 7 pennies and Jonah has 10 pennies. And Kennedy has a smaller amount of pennies. So the question is, how many more pennies does Jonah have than Kennedy? Well, right now we just have 2 number strips, and they're just showing us how many Kennedy and Jonah have. What we need to find is this empty space right here, because we need to know how much more Jonah has than Kennedy. And since Jonah's pennies go all the way out here, Kennedy's pennies only go right here. So we need to figure out what this space is. So I'm going to put a question mark there because that's what we need to find out. So by using these number strips, it helps us see the value with a model. So we know that Jonah has more pennies than Kennedy. So if we're trying to compare a number and one number is bigger than the other, and we're trying to figure out how much more he has, that's another way to say that we need to find the difference between Jonah and Kennedy's pennies. So this is a subtraction problem. So it's asking how many more pennies does Jonah have than Kennedy. So Jonah has 10, like we said, and Kennedy has 7. So we're going to do 10 take away 7. So 10 take away 7. 1. We bring this 1 over. So 10 minus 7 is 3. So this question mark we can now fill in, and we can put 3. So we figured out that Jonah has 3 more pennies than Kennedy by using the number strips to help us figure out that Jonah had the bigger number of pennies, so that he would be the number that you subtract from. So by using a compare model, it helps you see in real life how to subtract a problem.